Hello, in this video we're going to look at how to find an angle of a right angle triangle using our primary trig ratios. So I have in the video on the left hand side the problem and on the right hand side my calculator. You'll see I've already checked to make sure my calculator is in degree mode by taking the sine of 30 degrees and getting 0.5. That's good. Make sure with your calculator that you're working in degrees. So now what I'm going to do is I need to decide which of the three primary trig ratios I need to use. So I need to solve for an angle. So I take a look at the angle here, and then I label the two sides that I'm given relative to that angle. So if this is my angle here, the 2 would be the opposite. And this is my angle here, and the 7 would be the adjacent. So hopefully you're starting to get to the point where you can actually work out that. In this case, you can see that this is the tan ratio I want to use. But if you have trouble, because it takes a while sometimes to get comfortable using these ideas, is write out SOHCAHTOA. Well, sine, cos, or tan is always checked. So I see that I have the opposite and I have the adjacent. And since I have all three check marks for tan, that's the ratio I'm going to use. So therefore I write down tan of A is equal to the opposite, which is 2, over the adjacent, which is 7. And this is where students typically kind of have problems. So remember, what we want to do with any equation is apply the inverse operation to undo something. So in this case, we want to get the A by itself, so we have to apply the inverse tan to both sides. So to apply the inverse tan, we write it like this. If I want to take the inverse tan of this left side, I write the inverse tan like that, and then I put everything on the left side inside the brackets. So if I take the inverse tan of the left side, I have to take the inverse tan of the right side. Pardon me. So what that means is that, remember, an operation and its inverse undo each other. So if I take tan inverse of tan of A, I'm left with A. And actually, people typically will go directly from this step here to this step here. This step here isn't necessary, but it shows an understanding. So let's make sure we see what we're talking about here. So on this calculator, and some calculators, they'll represent the inverse operation as A sine, A cos, or A tan. So see here I have sine of 30 degrees. Let me type this in. We're going to take sine inverse of sine of 30. Well, sine of 30 is 0.5, and then sine inverse of 0.5 is 30. Now I hit equal. There you go. You see how they undo each other? Let's try this one. Tan inverse of tan of 46. 46. Tan inverse and tan are undoing each other. So now all I have to do is type this in my calculator. So let's change our colors here, keep things looking nice. A is approximately equal to, and so I'm going to take tan inverse of 2 divided by 7. Please make sure you type in the fraction right in your calculator. Don't write out the decimal there. And I get it's approximately equal to 15.945 degrees. And we're done. So a couple things just to kind of just pointers to take away from this. First pointer, make sure you put that degrees symbol, unless you're working in radians, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Make sure you use an approximate symbol, because that is not exactly 15.945 degrees. Okay. As we do more of these problems, we want to get away from having to write down this little aid here. We want to kind of get to the point where we can do it in our head and go right to this step here. But again, initially, it's okay to do this to get the idea. Last point, this is a mathematical step that's not necessary. Typically, we'll go from this step here directly to this step here. but this is to show understanding. If I want to get a by itself, I need to take the inverse operation of tan, and that's written as tan inverse of tan of a. And then if I take the tan inverse of the left side, I take the tan inverse of the right side. I hope this video helped.